All right, welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be tackling something I know a lot of you guys have requested, which is effective strategies for learning English,
Right.
but with a bit of a twist.
Yeah.
Instead of like the typical, tips and tricks, we thought it would be interesting to approach it from the perspective of,
Yeah.
if you already spoke English fluently, what would you do differently
Interesting.
if you had to start over, like right now in 2025?
Okay. Yeah. Like rewind the clock.
Exactly.
And all right, I'm starting from zero.
Yes,
Like
exactly.
I've got to learn this language all over again.
And lucky for us, we have a really cool source to work with on this one.
Oh, good.
There's an English teacher named Teacher Sam.
Okay.
Who's super popular online, and he's kind of already figured this out.
Interesting.
So he's all about like ditching those textbooks.
Oh, cool.
Embracing a more natural, like almost instinctive way of learning.
I mean, textbooks, they can be good, but it does feel sometimes like they're kind of, they're very rigid.
Yeah.
And they're not always the most, I don't know, natural way to learn something.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, and actually, I think his first tick is going to kind of like blow some people's minds.
Really?
He's a big believer in immersion over textbooks.
Okay.
So just constantly being exposed to English,
Mm-hmm.
even passively. Like he says, it just helps your brain naturally kind of pick up those patterns.
Right.
Just like, how a child learns their first language.
It's like, when a baby is learning to talk, nobody's giving them like vocabulary lists.
Right.
They're not studying grammar rules. It's all just like absorbing what they hear.
Right.
And that's how our brains are wired, I guess,
Yeah.
to do it.
And, he suggests a lot of different ways that you can kind of hack this.
Okay.
Even if you don't, live in an English-speaking country.
Right.
Like one of the simplest ones is to switch your phone and all your social media settings to English.
Oh,
Have you ever tried that?
that's smart. I have. Yeah, actually.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, not for English, obviously, but I've done it with other languages.
Oh, yeah.
And I've noticed it does help. It kind of sneaks up on you.
It's like you're not even studying.
Right. It's not like sitting down with a textbook,
Yeah.
but you're just like, picking things up by osmosis almost.
It's like learning in disguise.
It really is.
I did that with Spanish a while back.
Oh, cool.
And I was amazed at how many words I was like just from using my phone. I was like, oh, I know what that means now.
That's cool.
And you know what's even more interesting?
What?
He has a tip that's kind of like the audio version of this.
Okay.
He calls it shadowing,
Chatting.
which is basically where you repeat what you hear to really nail the pronunciation.
So, like, are you mimicking?
It is mimicking,
Okay.
but it's like you're really trying to like replicate the native speaker. Every word, every intonation.
So you're their shadow. Yeah.
Yes, like you're their shadow.
Shadow.
So his example is, how are you doing today?
Oh.
Like listen to a native speaker say that
Okay.
and then immediately try to repeat it, like
Okay.
matching their pacing and tone.
That's a good one.
It's like practicing scales.
Yeah, it's like practicing scales.
But with your voice,
Mm-hmm. For your
it might feel awkward at first, but
Sure.
the more you do it, the more natural it becomes.
listeners, I challenge you to try shadowing right now with this podcast.
Ooh.
Listen to how we're speaking, and then try to repeat a sentence or two and see if you can match our rhythm and pronunciation.
I love that, putting us on the spot. I love.
Mhm.
Okay, moving on to vocabulary. Now, this is another area where he's like a little bit, different from the typical advice.
Okay.
He believes in quality over quantity.
Okay.
So ditch those massive vocabulary lists and instead just focus on mastering the 1,000 most commonly used English words.
Now, that's interesting. So this is the Pareto principle at work.
It is.
80% of your results come from 20% of your effort.
Mm-hmm.
So if you focus on those most common words,
Exactly.
you're going to be able to understand a huge chunk
Yes.
of everyday English.
And what's so brilliant about this is that those 1,000 words, they're like the building blocks of the language.
Yeah.
Once you have those,
Yeah.
you can start combining them
Right.
in different ways to express more like nuanced or complex thoughts.
Yeah.
It's like having a Lego set. Like you start with the basic brick
I love that analogy.
and then you can build like almost
So
anything.
go whatever you want with them.
Yeah, that's really good.
So much more practical than memorizing these obscure words that
Yeah.
you're probably never going to use in a normal conversation.
Like when's the last time you used the word perspicacious?
Never.
Never exactly, but words like go, want, need.
Those are the ones you need.
Those are the ones those are the workhorses
Yeah, the foundation.
of any language.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so are you ready for tip number 4?
Hit me.
This one's a big one.
Okay.
He is a huge advocate of
Yeah.
speaking English from day one.
This is so important.
Even if you are not perfect.
People get so hung up on
Yes.
being perfect, making sure every grammar, rule is followed,
Yeah.
that they're afraid to speak.
Yes.
But get over that fear.
Yes.
So I'm on board with this one already.
And he actually offers some really good suggestions.
Oh, cool.
For like how to get over that fear and just start speaking.
All right.
So one is to practice with those AI chatbots.
Oh, that's a good one.
You know, those computer programs that like you can have conversations with?
Yeah, and they're getting better all the time, too.
They are getting better.
I can have like a fairly sophisticated conversation with some of these programs.
It's a very safe space to practice.
Yeah, because nobody's judging you.
Nobody's judging you.
Right.
You can like experiment with different phrases
Yeah.
and, just like see what works.
Yeah, if it doesn't sound right,
Yeah.
try it a different way.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
great. He also suggests talking to yourself in English.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Like narrate your day.
It does feel a little strange at first.
It does, but
I've done it, and you get used to it.
you get used to it and it helps you kind of like identify
Right, what are those gaps?
the gaps.
Where you're like, oh, I don't actually know how to say that
Yes, exactly.
in English.
Exactly.
So I'm going to look that up. I'm going to add that to my,
Yes.
my vocabulary list.
So good.
So that's great.
And of course, he also suggests, when you are ready for a speaking partner, joining online conversation groups,
Yeah.
language exchange apps, there's so many of those.
Tons of resources out there.
Yeah,
So it's just a matter of like getting over that initial fear
Yes,
and just starting to speak.
that's so key. And I think
Yeah.
this leads perfectly into,
Right.
what he says next,
Right.
which is all about making learning fun
It's them.
and engaging,
Okay.
especially when it comes to something like grammar.
Oh, grammar, yeah.
That can be like a scary...
Oh, yeah, it can be a minefield.
It can be, yeah.
All those rules.
So he actually dislikes rigid grammar rules.
Interesting.
He believes in, again, like a more natural,
Okay.
immersive approach where you kind of absorb grammar
Oh,
through exposure to the language.
so you're like learning it by doing.
Yes.
And you're picking it up
Yes.
through conversations and through movies
Yeah.
and things like that.
And reading, yeah, rather than like
Right, rather than memorizing the rules.
just memorizing rules in isolation.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that.
And you know what he suggests for making this even more fun?
YouTube.
Oh, YouTube. That's a good one, yeah.
He's a big fan.
It's so much more engaging than
Yes.
a lot of the traditional,
Yeah.
learning materials that are out there.
And like he suggests checking out channels
yeah.
with storytellers,
Mm-hmm.
finding conversations that have subtitles so you can like read along,
Mm-hmm.
even like daily life vlogs, because they show you how people use English.
In real situations,
Right.
not just like, this.
Yeah, not this like textbook version of
It's a glimpse into another culture, too,
exactly.
and their way of life and how they speak.
So speaking of real life,
Yeah.
this next tip
Okay.
is all about taking English out of the textbook
Oh, okay.
and using it in your everyday life.
Okay. I like that, yeah.
Turn those everyday tasks
Mm-hmm.
into like little language learning adventures.
So, like, what are some examples?
Yeah, like he says, imagine you're at a coffee shop.
Instead of, like, pointing at the menu,
Yeah.
challenge yourself to order in English.
Oh, good one.
Or, if you need to get somewhere, like,
Right.
instead of using your phone's GPS,
Yeah.
try asking for directions in English.
Oh, yeah.
Things like that.
And even switching from like
Oh, yeah.
texting to sending voice messages.
Yes, good one.
In English.
Yes, I love
Like
that.
a little audio, a little mini podcast
Yeah.
for your friend.
To your friend, exactly.
That's great.
Okay, are you ready for his next tip?
Hit me.
This one might seem a little old school,
Okay.
but it's incredibly effective.
All right. What is it?
He's a big fan of flashcards.
Flashcards.
I mean, they can be kind of
They are a little
traditional.
yes, but
That-
he really advocates for them, especially when you combine them with
Okay.
something called spaced repetition.
Spaced repetition. Now we're talking.
Yes.
Now we're getting into the nitty-gritty.
Yes, I love it. So for those listeners who maybe aren't familiar, spaced repetition,
Yeah.
basically you review information at increasing intervals.
Mm-hmm.
So you learn a new word today,
Yeah.
you see it again tomorrow, then
Mhm.
maybe a few days later,
Mhm.
then a week later, and so on. And the idea is that you're forcing your brain to like work harder
Yes.
to retrieve that information.
Exactly.
And the more you do that, the stronger that memory becomes.
And there are some really cool apps now.
Right. You don't even have to do it manually anymore.
Like Anki and Quizlet.
Yeah. Anki's great.
They make it so much easier.
Yeah. They do all the work for you.
Yes, they do.
Like having a little, flashcard tutor
Yes.
in your pocket.
I love that.
Okay. So flashcards are back.
Flashcards are back.
I'm convinced.
Yes.
What else does he have for us?
Okay, so his next tip is all about writing.
Writing?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's so simple, yet so effective.
Interesting.
He recommends writing one sentence in English.
One sentence?
Every day.
That doesn't sound too hard.
It sounds almost too easy.
Okay.
But, don't underestimate the power of consistency.
Yeah, consistency's key.
And even just that little act of writing, it forces you to think about the grammar, the sentence structure.
It does.
In a more active way.
You're not just passively absorbing it.
Yes.
You're actually having to...
You're having to put it into practice.
Yeah, produce it.
And it's a great way to track your progress, too.
Yeah, you can look back and see.
You can look back and be like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
I've come a long way.
So what kind of sentences does he suggest?
He suggests things like, today I ate a delicious breakfast.
Oh, yeah?
Or, I'm excited to learn more English.
Yeah, it's simple, straightforward.
Yeah, it's achievable. It takes the pressure off.
Totally, yeah.
It's not like you're writing a novel. It's just a quick thought.
Okay.
Speaking of achievable, his next tip is one that I, wholeheartedly agree with.
Okay.
Find a speaking partner.
This is where the magic happens.
It is.
It really is.
Having someone to practice with, bounce ideas off of, get real-time feedback from is just...
It's invaluable.
Invaluable.
For so many reasons.
And not just, the grammar, the vocabulary.
Yeah.
But you're also learning about...
Their culture?
Their culture, their perspective.
Their perspective, how they use the language.
Their way of using the language, yeah.
And their accent.
And their accent.
Which is so important, too.
Yes, and there's so many ways to find speaking partners these days.
There are, yeah.
There's all these language exchange apps, HelloTalk, Tandem, italki.
Oh, yeah, I've used all of those.
Oh, cool.
They're great, yeah.
They're great, yeah.
And then don't forget about,
yeah,
local meetups.
Yeah.
If you live in a city that has a lot of English speakers.
Yes.
There are often, groups dedicated to language learning.
Yes.
And you can just meet people and chat and have fun.
It's so good.
All right, so we've covered immersion, shadowing, vocabulary, speaking, YouTube, flashcards.
Writing, speaking partners.
What's next?
What's next? Okay, this one is perhaps the most mind-bending
of
all of his tips.
All right.
This is what he calls, the ultimate trick for fluency.
Okay.
Think in English.
Ooh, think in English.
Yes.
That sounds intense.
It does sound intense, and we'll have to dive into what he means by that.
Yeah, breaks it down a little bit.
We'll break that down a little bit.
Okay, I'm excited.
But, essentially, training your brain to think and process information in English rather than translating everything back and forth from your native language.
So instead of, thinking, how do I see this in English?
Yes.
You're just thinking it in English.
You're already there.
Interesting.
It's like rewiring your brain.
Yeah, that's like a whole other level of bilingual.
It is a whole other level. It does take time and effort.
Imagine it does.
But it is incredibly rewarding.
Well, let's dive into that a little bit more then.
Okay, so,
yeah.
How do you actually train yourself?
Right, how do you do that?
To think in English?
That's a great question.
And does he have any specific tips for that?
Yeah, because that sounds a little intimidating.
It does.
Just okay, go think in English now.
Go think in English.
How?
Yeah, how?
Yeah.
So he actually has some really good suggestions.
Okay.
He says start with simple things,
Yeah.
like describing your surroundings in English.
Okay, yeah.
So as you're walking down the street, try to name the things that you see.
Okay.
Like the cars, the buildings, the people.
Like narrating your life.
Yeah, kind of.
Like narrating your life in English.
That's interesting.
And I bet it also helps you identify those gaps,
Yeah, totally.
in your vocabulary. Oh, I don't know the word for that.
Yeah.
In English. I need to go look that up.
Exactly.
Okay.
And, even if you can only use, simple words at first, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's just about...
Baby steps.
Baby steps, yeah. Making it part of,
Yeah.
your inner world.
Your inner monologue.
Your inner monologue.
I like that.
Not just something you use in specific situations.
Right. It's not just a tool.
Yes.
It's becoming a part of who you are.
Exactly.
That's beautiful.
It's almost like becoming like bilingual in your own mind.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it highlights the beauty of like his whole approach is like,
yeah,
he's not just teaching you English.
Right.
He's teaching you how to like
think like an English speaker.
think like an English speaker, which is so cool.
Which is amazing.
And I think it's something that a lot of traditional language learning methods kind of miss. Like they focus so much on
the technical
aspects.
Right, the rules.
That they like forget about the cognitive and like
the
cultural dimensions.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just like what you say.
Yeah.
It's like how you think
Yeah.
and how you see the world.
We'll love that.
You know, which is why like his emphasis on immersion and real life practice is so important because it like helps you kind of develop this
that deeper understanding.
Of like the language and the culture that represents.
That's so good.
And it makes it fun.
It does make it fun.
And engaging.
Yeah, when you're watching a YouTube video that's in English, you're not thinking, oh, I'm studying now.
Right.
You're just enjoying the video and, you know, maybe pick it up a few words.
It's like you said before.
Yeah.
It's learning in disguise.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're having fun. You're connecting with people.
And it doesn't feel like a chore.
It doesn't feel like a chore, and you're like expanding your horizons.
Exactly.
All while improving your English.
Yeah, that's a really good point to emphasize.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like this, you know.
Yeah.
This horrible thing.
Yeah, like this burden. Yeah.
Like, oh, I have to go study English now.
Yeah.
It can be something that you enjoy.
It can be. It should be.
It should be.
It should be an adventure. Like
it can be an adventure.
You know, it can be a way to like discover new things about yourself, about the world around you.
I love that.
You know, and I think that's what makes Teacher Sam's approach so refreshing is that
it's inspiring.
He's like not just teaching English, he's like inspiring you to become like a lifelong learner.
That's a gift that keeps on giving.
It does.
You know, long after you've like, you know, mastered the basics.
Yes.
You're going to keep learning.
And I think that's what we need.
In today's world.
Especially today.
Okay, so let's recap.
Okay.
What we've learned from Teacher Sam so far.
Right.
We've talked about the power of immersion, you know, using techniques like switching your phone settings, shadowing native speakers.
Shadowing, I love that.
We've discussed the importance of focusing on like high-frequency vocabulary.
Those common words.
Yeah, those common words that really are like the building blocks.
Yeah, the foundation.
And we've explored the benefits of speaking from day one.
Even if you're not perfect.
Even if you're not perfect, using tools like, you know, those AI chatbots, the online conversation groups.
Yeah.
We've delved into the world of YouTube.
YouTube, love it.
Yeah, discovering how fun and engaging those videos can be.
So many different types of videos out there.
We even revisited the humble flashcard.
The flashcard.
Learning how spaced repetition can,
you
know, supercharge your vocabulary acquisition.
Yeah, supercharge it. And we talked about the power of writing.
Yeah, even just a sentence a day.
Even just one sentence a day.
It can make a difference.
It can make a difference.
And of course, we can't forget about finding a speaking partner.
Yes, so important.
Someone to really practice with.
In a real world setting.
Exactly.
Wow, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
It's a comprehensive approach.
It really is.
That covers so many different aspects of language learning.
And what's great about it is that it's adaptable.
Right.
You don't have to do all of it at once.
Exactly.
You know, choose one or two things that resonate with you. And start there.
And just start there.
Yeah, build those positive habits.
Yes.
And then add more as you go.
I love that.
And remember, language learning is a journey.
Right.
It's not a destination.
It's about progress, not perfection.
That's so important.
So speaking of progress, I'm actually curious to hear from our listeners.
Oh, yeah.
What is one thing that's...
Okay. You are going to try differently after listening to this.
Yeah. What are you going to experiment with?
Deep dive.
After hearing all these great tips.
Have you been inspired to switch your phone settings to English?
Yeah. Give it a try.
Are you going to, you know, challenge yourself to think in English for 5 minutes today?
I might even do that.
I might too.
Today.
We'd love to hear about your experiences, you know, share your thoughts.
Yeah.
With us on social media, leave a comment on our website.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
And we're here to support you.
Exactly. And we're excited to see you succeed on your English learning journey.
We are.
And remember, even small steps can lead
They can.
to big results over time.
Absolutely.
Okay, before we wrap up, I have one final question for you guys. Inspired by Teacher Sam's advice to think in English.
Oh, good.
What is one simple thought?
Yeah.
Maybe something you're thinking or feeling right now.
That you can try to express in English today.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, like it could be anything.
Mm.
Maybe you're feeling excited about trying out some of these tips.
Yeah.
Maybe
you're feeling a little bit nervous about,
Yeah.
stepping outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, try to capture that thought
Mm.
in an English sentence.
Yeah.
Even if it's just, 2 or 3 words.
It's such a powerful exercise, I think.
It is. It really is. It's like
Yeah.
connecting with the language
Yeah.
on this personal level.
Yes. It's just something you study.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a part of you.
Yes.
It's how you're feeling.
Exactly. It's like making it part of your everyday life.
Exactly.
And it really reinforces that. Like, language is about communication.
It is. It's about,
Yeah.
expressing yourself, connecting with others.
Yes.
It's not just about, these rules.
Yeah, these abstract rules.
Yeah, it's about, sharing your thoughts
Yes.
and ideas
Yes.
with the world.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it. And I think it ties back to what we were saying earlier about, the joy of learning.
Yes.
When you approach it with that curiosity and that sense of playfulness.
Yeah, it becomes fun.
It becomes so much more rewarding.
It does.
It's about embracing the journey, not just focusing on
the destination.
the destination.
It's about those little wins along the way.
Yes, those aha moments, yeah.
The aha moments, like, oh, I get it now.
Yes.
Or, I was able to
say
that.
Express myself more confidently.
Yeah, and it's about being patient with yourself, too.
Yes. It's a marathon.
It is a marathon, not a sprint.
Not a sprint.
There are going to be days when you feel like you're making tons of progress.
Yeah.
And there are going to be days when you feel like you're stuck.
Yes.
But the important thing is to just keep going.
Keep going. Yeah, never give up.
Never give up,
On that dream of fluency.
And remember, you're not alone.
Yeah.
There's a huge community out there.
Yes.
Of people.
Of English learners.
Who are learning English.
Going through the same...
the same challenges.
Celebrated.
The same victories.
The same victories.
So connect with them, support each other.
Yes.
Learn from each other.
I love that. That's such great advice, yeah.
It's a journey.
It is a journey. We are all in this together.
We are.
And we're here to support you.
Absolutely.
Every step of the way.
So keep practicing.
Yeah.
Keep experimenting. And most importantly, keep having fun with English.
Yes. Keep having fun. That's so key.
Yeah.
We can't wait to hear about your progress.
We're excited for you.
It's like putting it out there into the universe.
Yeah.
And making it real.
Manifesting
it, yes.
I love that.
And it really, I think, goes back to that idea of making English a part of your life, not just something that you're studying.
It's not just an academic subject.
It's not just an academic subject.
Oh, no.
It's a living...
It's a tool.
It's a tool, yeah. A living, breathing tool.
Yeah, and it's something that you can use to connect
Yeah.
with people from all over the world.
And I think that's what makes it so exciting.
It is exciting.
So we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have. We've been on quite a journey.
We have.
With Teacher Sam.
We've been on quite a journey with Teacher Sam. It's been fun.
It has.
I feel like, his approach is just so...
It's so refreshing. And inspiring.
And
it makes me want to go back and relearn English.
I know, me too.
Even though I already knew. I already speak it.
Yeah. It's like, I want to try all these...
try all these new things. Yeah.
So we hope you guys...
Oh, you do.
...have enjoyed this deep dive as much as we have.
And we hope you've learned
a
few things that you can take away and apply to your own...
Yes, apply to your own
English learning adventures.
Exactly.
So keep practicing, keep learning.
Keep having fun.
Keep having fun.
And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.